Welcome, one and all, whoever may be watching this, part 42, Planescape, no, not Planescape, Torment, Tides of Numenéra. Just want to give a quick shout out to anyone who has been watching, whether it's this video or you've been slowly making your way through. I know viewership numbers drops quite dramatically during these longer kind of playthrough play things, games, whatever. I'm sick, leave me alone. So I do just want to give a shout out if you've made it this far, or if you're just tuning in for the fun of it. I appreciate having you along and the likes and everything else in between. So we activated a pod. I don't quite know how that's going to help me. So rings of energy pulse around the stasis pod. There appears to be nothing inside it, but a control interface hovers a few centimeters off the surface at one end of the pod. Surprisingly, the words on the interface are written in the truth, and you can understand them. There are several options, but most of them are dimmed out. The only two functioning options are check status and access data. Well, let's access data. A list of records appear. Several of them are crossed out with the word corrupted next to the name. Most of the functioning records are mundane, like system integrity results or lists of lab equipment, but there are a number of functioning dated records labeled experiment notes. Oh, far out. Do I really want to go through all of these? Preliminary investigations suggest that Mazov was correct. The crystals of the Ascension bear the properties we require to complete the resonance chamber. The amulet provided invaluable in reaching the place and may have other uses besides, so it will be some time before I can return it to Dracogen. Much more experimentation is required before I can know for certain whether the Ascension holds what I seek. Right, this is going to be exposition. I wish these had like voiceovers, this stuff. It would just make it so much easier to sort of handle. The secrets of the crystal of ore are one of the few substances I have found that can eat through the living crystal of the Ascension. I have had several larvae brought here for that purpose. Dracogen exudes patience with regard to the amulet, but I have dealt with other Dracogens before. He will only remain patient for so long before he decides I have cheated him. No matter, I fear the sorrow more than I fear them. I have several experiments running simultaneously while I wait for the crystal to grow. True to their name, the crystal of ores have proven quite adaptable to this environment and invaluable to this part of the process. The Ascension natives may prove useful as well. I had ignored them initially, for although their speaker is capable of cogent communication, it has proven useless in providing any real information. However, I have since seen other natives accomplishing some remarkable feats with the crystal itself, so I captured one for study. We shall see if there's more I can learn from it. Oh, okay, so that must be the one behind the shield. I think that was the fourth. I don't remember. Where was I up to? Several of the crystal of ore larvae hatched prematurely and escaped. It's unclear how it happened, but I suspect that someone came looking for the amulet while I was buying supplies in Sagus. No doubt they tampered with my machine in their efforts to find it. The voice sighs. To prevent further sabotage, I have placed the amulet and the remaining larvae behind an energy field. The power generator can open the field, but it now requires the passcode sequence to ensure there is no further tampering. I am not foolish enough to record that sequence here, but should something happen to me such that I forget, the 3 geodesics through the barycenter are the key. The voice says nothing more. If that was supposed to be a hint, its meaning is unclear. Perhaps it would make more sense when looking at the power generator itself. The escaped crystal of ores are growing and breeding. They now constitute a serious threat to my work. He pauses. I've built a device to emit sound waves at a very specific frequency, lulling the creatures into dormancy. So far it appears to be an effective countermeasure, but I shall have to keep careful watch to be sure. I must also make sure that the power generator does not experience any interruptions, lest they wake again. Right, so if we do anything with the power generator, that will wake them up, and we will have a crisis event. The voice speaks between ragged breaths. This will be my last entry. Dracogen's patience has worn thin, as I knew it would. His agents are outside and will no doubt break in through my defenses momentarily. If they do, I will have to abandon this body. I don't know when I'll be able to return, but I am... The voice cuts off. There is no more of this entry. So this is the changing god that's speaking. Okay, I'm with you. The voice on this entry is the same as the others, but it has none of the confidence from before. Yeah, so he's fled the body. I don't know what's happening. I woke in this cave, surrounded by angry men, demanding something called an amulet. I don't know what it is, but they attacked me. I didn't know what to do, so I fought back. I killed them. The blood, it's everywhere. Some of it's mine, but most of it... I found these notes afterwards when I was trying to figure out what was happening to me. I couldn't figure out how to retrieve the amulet, but those men were sent by someone called Dracogen. I don't know what any of this means. I'm going to find out, but I'm leaving this message in case I don't make it back. I don't know who will listen, but, well, I figured I should leave something of me in here, somewhere, in case I don't get very far. Okay, so then what's check status? A picture of the pod appears. The lid on the image is closed and flashing red. Several other places on the image of the pod flash red as well. The text says, status pod empty. Error, self-diagnostic failed. Cannot open stasis pod. Primary functions offline. Data integrity 67%. Okay, so we've somehow worked out how to open the barrier, kind of. We have to make sure nothing happens to the power generator. What? Hold on. I want to figure out how we can get this dude out.
Let's go.
So this is just trying to figure out the passcode. The 3 geodesics through the barycenter are the key. Watching the glyphs revolve around the center rune, the meaning suddenly becomes clear. The symbols increase and decrease in size as they move around the rune, traveling more quickly when they come close to it and slower when they're further away. They aren't revolving, they're orbiting, and the rune is the barycenter. The definition of geodesic rises from the depths of your mind as well. It means a great circle track, the shortest line between 2 points on a sphere. On a hunch, you draw a line from each of the 3 symbols to the other, curving the line through the rune in the center. The symbols stop orbiting. Lines appear where your finger drags across the interface. Soon you have 3 curved lines connecting each of the symbols, 3 geodesics through the same barycenter. The interface disappears, replaced by an image of some kind of field projector. Triumphant, you cut the power to the projector. Across the cavern, the force field deactivates. Okay, so we've solved that problem. I still wouldn't mind trying to free the Fobbit. Such a random name. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it.
Yes.
Okay, so we've done the maze-like. We did the circular glyph, I think. What's the bolt of lightning? Oh no, okay, so the bolt of lightning was the pod. Okay. Parallel lines. Oh no, okay, they've all got circular symbols. So an image appears of the pod in the far corner of the room. Is receiving power. Wait, hold on. So touching this circular glyph, an image appears depicting the humming device in the center of the room. Yeah, okay, we're not gonna do anything with that one. Well, hold on. The rune and the glyphs disappear, replaced by an image depicting the bank of the 3 large crystals at your right. Symbols flow into the image showing the device is currently receiving power from the machine. Oh, okay, sorry, that's my bad for not reading. The circular symbol dims, and the symbols freeze in place, no longer marching into the image of the 3 crystals. To your right, lights on the bank of the crystals fade. A phobbit blinks and chirps within one of the large crystals, finally freed from its imprisonment. It zips around in the crystal, makes cheerful noises in your direction, then vanishes in a flash of light. You're welcome, my dude. More than happy to have helped you.
Of course.
You don't want to loot, please? Or do we have no room left in our inventory? Is that the issue going on here?
These ciphers are killing me.
Sorry. Well,
Yes.
okay, fine.
These ciphers are killing me.
I'm sorry. Well, hold on, we didn't get any amulet. Maybe we have to interact with this machine. Nestled among the crystal formations is a steel pod. Cables pass in and out of the pod. Glowing with energy. As soon as you're within arm's reach, a shining interface materializes in the air between you and the pod. There are a few strange symbols arranged in a circle around the filigreed pentagon similar to the tattoo on your head. I guess touch your own tattoo to the center symbol? As you draw closer, the filigreed pentagon glows more brightly. Your head becomes warm, but not uncomfortably so. When it touches the light, you feel a small amount of energy flow out from you. The cables of the pod pulse quickly, and the top of the chamber opens with a hiss. The only item inside is the hyaline circlet, as black as the sky behind the stars. The magmatic amulet. You remove it from the pod and take it with you.
I'll remember that.
The chamber hisses shut and the interface vanishes. Yeah, we're doing all the things.
On it.
Hold on, these crystals came up neutral. I wonder if that means these are the creatures that have been frozen.
Yes, now.
And like, if we had have cut power, we would have had to have fought all of them or something.
All right.
So I'm guessing we can just leave now? Oh. Yeah, I knew that would be too easy.
All right.
I might maybe go talk to the speaker first, see if it can't help me. Let's just save the game.
To action!
We'll be with you in a hot second, my peeps.
Of course.
No, okay. Alright, I'm coming.
One moment, and it's done.
Let's not make this a long conversation, please, because I've got to end this video. Dorian bars your path with a slight confident smile. Greetings again, Castoff. Whatever you did in that cave has caught the changing god's attention. He knows you're here now, and he has asked me to destroy your mind. His smile broadens. Do not resist. Suddenly his pupils slide out of view, not up but sideways, as abruptly as if they've been slapped. Yes, he says in the same usual tone. Of course. It won't be long now. His pupils return from the opposite side. Don't waste your time speaking to her. Take her mind. You said you weren't really a prophet. He shrugs. I lied. Your father speaks to me, he says, pointing at a tiny device at the base of his skull, too small to have noticed before. He has told me that he has need of your body, and I have learned over the years to trust what he says. A hint of sorrow touches his eyes. It is time to return your father's property, Castoff. When did the changing god start speaking to you? Years ago, Doran says simply. He taps the base of his skull. Ever since this device attached itself to me while I was exploring one of his abandoned laboratories. He has asked me to tell you that the erasure of your mind will not hurt. He will simply nudge your mind into oblivion and take its place. Doran bows his head. He will be among us at last, thanks to you. It won't hurt, Castoff. It's only nudging your mind into oblivion so that I may have my body. What is that device, anyway? One of his mouthpieces, he says, brow furrowing. Apparently he had assumed this was common knowledge among Castoffs. Smiling, he shakes his head in self-depreciating amusement. I picked this relic up, examined it, and discarded it. But then it shot up from the ground and chose me, claimed me. Your father has spoken to me ever since. The changing god is using you, that's what he does. Of course he is, Doran says, sighing. And we choose to let him. You and your kind do not have the same freedom. That body does not belong to you. It must be exhausting, he says, compassion in every line of his face. It must be impossible knowing that your every breath is borrowed, that your discoveries do not ultimately belong to you, and that your only marks on the world will be the ones he does not wipe away. He clasps his hands. Thankfully, we are here to take that burden from you. It is time to sleep, Castoff. It is time to surrender. The changing god is trapped in my mind, though. How can he be speaking to you? He looks confused for a moment. In your mind? I don't... Did you think I would let myself be rendered helpless? I am never without power. He raises a hand to his head. Ah, he says. It seems like he is in your mind. But maybe you've forgotten who we're talking about. The changing god has been alive for centuries, maybe more. He would never let himself be trapped or rendered helpless. He is never powerless. I am proof of that. Doran is but one of my tools. You are never beyond my reach, Castoff. I mean, really my only option here is intimidation, so I'll give you one last chance to run. Just one, be smart. Yeah, do you think that will cut it? Oh, I don't think we're going to make this. We got 55, that's as high as I can do it. Oh wow, okay. His complacency drains in the face of your threat. His eyes pop open wide, his hands fly instinctively to his ears as though someone were shouting at him. I'm sorry, this was a mistake. I'm not strong enough. I don't want to Fool, you are less than worthless. I will find another way to retrieve my body.
Ready to learn something?
Yikes. There is a high-pitched keening. Doran clutches the device at the back of his skull as though it were hurting him. He groans, swaying. With a soggy crump, his head bursts. With a single horrified glance at their fallen prophet, his followers flee.
Yes, now. Let's go.
No, you stinking stupid Moor. Guess we can talk to the tongues, maybe? What other options do we have? Kinda looks like it's just the tongue cluster.
Yes.
I mean, it's telling me to touch the magmatic amulet, so let's do that. You grasp the crystalline artifact. At once the voices of the bloom grow louder, and louder still. They fill your consciousness, drowning out your thoughts, hissing and whispering and chittering and buzzing. They're coming from every direction, from above and below, from nearby and far away. Swaying on your feet, you nearly topple to the floor. Makina grabs hold of your arm to prevent you from falling. What's wrong with you? Her eyes are wide and confused. You shake your head, unable to respond, caught up in the torrent of maddening sound. Slowly, the bloom voices resolve themselves into their constituent parts, but now they carry sense impressions with them. Hunger, curiosity, desire. Each burst of bloom voices evokes a new impression in your mind. For a moment you let go of the amulet and the sense impressions are gone. The voices are nothing but meaningless babble. Then you touch the amulet again and the sense impressions return. You realize that the magmatic amulet is a translator of sorts, though the limits and scope of its power are uncertain. Can we just try to communicate with the tongues? Relaxing your mind, you allow the whispering of the bloom tongues to penetrate your thoughts. Memories rise into your consciousness, trivial moments you thought you had forgotten. Just as you recognize them, they are swept away. The bloom tongues are sifting through your memories, looking for something. The voices dig deeper into your unconscious. What seemed harmless at first has become irritating. A dull ache blossoms in the back of your head, spreading across your skull and down your spine. The pain comes in waves, as if the bloom is trying to wrench a memory out of your brain. Tidal surge, channel the pain back into the bloom tongues. You focus on the pain, letting it flow upon the tides and surge away from you, a molten rush of agony that leaves your nerves quivering in its wake. It spills across the bridge that the amulet has created between your mind and the tongues. From all around you, the bloom's voices shriek in hatred and fury. The tongues twist and writhe, the ground shakes. And then the pain is gone. The clustered bloom tongues droop, their movements feeble, their voices no more than a whisper. In the aftermath of your unusual experience, you find that you have maintained your grip upon the magmatic amulet. Your connection to the bloom tongue remains intact. While they're in a weakened state, you might be able to seize control. I just want to get out of here. I hope I'm not doing anything detrimental to anyone.
I'm ready to learn something new.
You reach across the barrier that separates your consciousness from that of the tongues, a barrier now made permeable by the amulet. Tentatively, you begin to direct the motions of the tongues. It is a strange sensation, like having another set of limbs. But they respond to your impulses. Belatedly, the tongues try to resist, but with a bit of concentration, you quiet them like errant thoughts. These tongues, you realize, are a tiny locus of the bloom's consciousness. Their roots extend throughout the trade post, and now so do your thoughts and commands. Let's move the trade post back to its original location. You close your eyes and relax your mind, probing the limits of your new senses. The roots of the bloom tongues run throughout the trade post, but they also extend some distance into the surrounding flesh. A few of them trail upward, tracing a path towards an open cavity in the outer reaches of the bloom. Steeling yourself, you take hold of all the tendrils at once, urging them back along that path, clawing their way towards the surface and dragging the trade post after them. The ground buckles and churns beneath your feet, and the whole chamber begins to move. At last you open your eyes and the shaking subsides. The blocked archway is opening. You hear astonished voices outside. Their energy spent, the bloom tongues recede into the ground.